So yeah, many people struggle with gut-related issues such as autoimmune disorders and obesity and anxiety, and they don't know where to start. So how does GutID microbiome analysis provide actionable insights into those health concerns so people can get some actionable insights and start actually balance their microbiome and improve their gut health and reduce their inflammation in gut, which is overall inflammation because all is connected, all organs and systems in our body are interconnected.
For people out there who've looked at microbiome testing, they'll have seen a few different technologies out there. So you'll hear about people saying 16S, you hear about people saying we're metagenomics based. There's even things called metatranscriptomics. There's also PCR. They all sort of have a slightly different approach, but the best ones out there to date before GutID are really these metagenomics based tests. It's looking at the more sequencing you do is generally seen as being better. And what is sequencing? Well, sequencing takes the physical biological kind of DNA, so the code which is stored in these cells of these bacteria, and it converts it to digital data. So that's G, C's, A's, and T's. And the more sequencing you do, the more it costs. Therefore, metagenomics is a way of doing lots of sequencing to get you an answer. And it's been presented in the last few years as being the gold standard of microbiome testing. The issue with metagenomics is, though, is that there's a huge amount of having to do computation to try and join lots of bits of data, and then decide, well, what do all those bits of data represent? Is it a bacteria that we know? Is it in our database? Can we see it? Have we reassembled that data in an accurate way? So the problem with metagenomics is, especially with commercially available tests, is that the data is not repeatable. There are too many steps in the test to make it repeatable because you're taking lots of fragments of data, you're trying to reassemble them, you're trying to infer things, and therefore if you send the same sample in twice, you can get a very different result. GutID uses a new approach, still NGS-based sequencing, next-generation sequencing-based approach, and it has, for much less sequencing, it has much more accuracy. And the way that we do it to get to this strain-level data is we focus on a very specific piece of the genome of the bacteria, and we know that specific piece that we've sequenced perfectly, and we know it contains enough information to actually give us this strain level information. And the strains are kind of the ultimate level of information you need for the microbiome, because it actually, that's where the action happens. Because not all E. coli is going to make you sick, but there's certain strains of E. coli will. So you have to have this strain level information, and we have an ability to generate that extremely accurately and yet still make it commercially available in the form of GutID, and that's why the test is so different.
GutID offers two tests, CGI and CMA. So CGI is core gut insights and CMA is complete microbiome assessment. Can you please explain the key difference between these two tests?
Why are the tests actionable? So the reason the tests are actionable is because you have this accurate and you have this complete picture of your microbiome. So both GutID tests, which is CGI and CMA, they both have they give this complete picture of the gut microbiome. So what does that mean? It means that we see all the bacteria in your microbiome, which is kind of the first test which can do that. Every other test on the market will talk about their database, they'll talk about their target list. They'll say we look at 50 bad bacteria, we look at 50 good bacteria.
Personally, I am functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I performed many times for myself and for my clients. I performed gut microbiome test, and I saw specific bacteria, gut and those fungi, yeast, viruses. And among these beneficial, healthy bacteria, there is limited list of them. Definitely not all of them. Do I understand correct that your GutID test offers like full map, like all possible
That's right, of bacteria. So we're a bacteria-focused test, and so we can see virtually all the bacteria and down to the strain level. And that's a really big difference between us and everybody else. Everybody else has their target list, their 50 good, their 50 bad bacteria. They'll have their database, which may have thousands of bacteria in it, which they can perhaps see. Again, if they can get past some of these data assembly issues we touched upon before. But the issue is, there are millions, billions, possibly trillions of bacteria in the world. So as soon as you say that you have a target list or you have a database that you're looking for,
it should be long list, isn't it?
yeah,
Long list.
but there is no list because we don't know. So you have to have a way of basically seeing everything, separating everything, and that's what we have, which makes this test so special. And that means that for the first time, you can actually have a microbiome test. It's not a panel or a targeted list to say if you have certain bacteria. It's looking at your complete bacterial microbiome. And then suddenly you can start managing your microbiome because you have to manage the whole ecosystem. You can't just manage little portions of it, right? Because you have no idea what the rest of it looks like. You can't just go into the forest and just kind of tend to the oak trees and ignore everything else.
No, let's be like honest. If we do this holistic approach to our health and we balance microbiome, we definitely will balance all kind of bacteria.
And you have to have the data showing you the whole microbiome to know. And what are the key metrics? So the three of the key metrics we focus on: diversity. So if you don't see the whole picture, how do you know how diverse your microbiome is? Evenness. Again, if you don't see the whole picture, how do you know if all your slices on your microbiome are?
Yeah, I like that you say this evenness, because even if we have overgrowth of some beneficial healthy bacteria, is also imbalances. And many times we see after consuming some probiotics for a long time, like 2-3 months, some exact probiotics with some exact strains, then on microbiome test we can see overgrowth with this kind of healthy bacteria, but this is also overgrowth and it's not balanced microbiome. Do I understand you correct, right?
That is absolutely correct. You can have imbalances of healthy quote unquote good bacteria. So you need balance, you need evenness. And then we look at a lot at the Firmicutes and Bacteroides ratio. They're two phylum of bacteria. And roughly speaking, your microbiome should be half and half of Firmicutes and Bacteroides. And that's something which is an established in the research. That's not us saying that. So that's one of the things that we use as a measure, along with evenness, diversity, and several other metrics, to kind of come up with this gut microbiome health score. And that score is then very actionable because the higher the score, the healthier the people are in our database and our experience, and the lower the score, and some of the sickest patients we've seen have very, very low scores. So if you're interested in longevity, that's a really clean and crisp data point of get that score up, and you will be you'll generally speaking be healthier, and it will put you in a better position for longevity and disease avoidance.